Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be doing a VFR flight over Maldives. To be specific, we'll be doing some hops over several airports, in total 5 airports. And let me just show you the flight plan here. I'm presently in flight. Yep, so that's our overall flight plan. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is Mail International Airport, Maldives. We took off from airport VMRH and I had spawned in on ramp 3. We pushed back and we backtracked runway 21 and we took off and followed our flight plan as filed, and we are headed towards VRMM, sorry. Okay, so as you can see in the cockpit, everything seems stable and fine. We are at our cruising speed of 158 knots, the maximum cruising speed for this aircraft. As we know, a Cessna Grand Caravan, which is such a beautiful aircraft, great for short runway landings, and it can help you go to some remote airports. Also, it's a good training aircraft. It's a single turbo prop aircraft. Coming back to the cockpit, we'll be maintaining this current cruising speed. We are presently at 6,000 feet with a 0 rate of climb, and our altitude seems fine. We had previously filed our flight plan in our Garmin, and here you can see our flight director switch is on and our navigation GPS switch is on GPS. So our Garmin is giving the feedback and instructions to our aircraft and leading it towards our next waypoint, that is Kilo Alpha Golf Uniform Mike. As you can see, we have a fair weather outside. There are some clouds at 7,000 feet. Most probably they'll be right above us. We are doing a VFR flight today, that is Visual Flight Rules, which is a perfect flight for such a flight plan. During the flight, I'll be giving you several information about the procedures we'll be following and the way we'll be approaching the airports, and some tips on the flight simulator. And also, as you can see, I'm using this new software called Little Nav Map that basically, as you can see, I have my updated flight over here. That's my aircraft, and today there's a friend with me, Omkar, who's from Mumbai. He's flying with me today. My current indicated airspeed is 158 knots and ground speed is 185 knots, and that's because we have a nice, good, strong tailwind that's around 17 knots southwest, and that's the reason why we have a higher ground speed than our indicated airspeed. Also, we are on a heading of 150, headed towards our next waypoint, that is Kilo Alpha Golf Uniform Mike. After that waypoint, we'll be descending to 3,000 feet, and after crossing Delta 310 Lima, we'll be descending to 1,000 for a pattern altitude. Now to give you a basic overview about what are traffic patterns here, as you can see this diagram right here on our next airport, that's Mail International. We'll be approaching on runway 36. Okay, so as you can see that we have a left traffic pattern here for runway 36. Now how do I know we need to follow a left traffic pattern? That's always mentioned on the information booklets of the airport or the ATIS frequency. Here we have some general information about Mail International. So the pattern altitude for this traffic pattern will be 1000 feet, which we will soon be descending to. Now, to give you a basic overview of a traffic pattern, there are basically 1, 2, 3, 4 legs to a traffic pattern. If we are taking off runway 36 from Mail International, we'll be keeping the traffic informed and we'll be calling out as and when we proceed to our traffic pattern. So after takeoff, we will turn left to a 90 degrees. Every turn on this traffic pattern has a 90-degree turn. Turning left 90 degrees after taking off, we'll call to the traffic and let them know that we are turning left crosswind runway 36. Then after a while, we'll be turning left downwind runway 36 and also inform the traffic around us on the comms. After we continue downwind, once we establish a 45-degree angle from the runway threshold, you can see the runway threshold here. As we establish a 45-degree angle, we'll then turn left again, and that will be called left base runway 36. And then once we establish the localizer, this is called the localizer or the ILS or the glide slope, we will then turn left to a heading of 90 degrees again to a final heading of 360, that's north, and that's how the runway has been numbered. 360 gives us runway 36, and we'll call out the traffic that we are now final runway 36 and go ahead and land if the runway seems clear. Okay, coming back to our flight, as we'll soon be reaching Kilo Alpha Golf Uniform Mike, we'll start our descent from 6000 feet. You can see the elevation chart here. Today our cruising altitude was 6000 feet and our highest ground altitude is 1500, so we need to stay well above this red line right here. As you can see, this is our cruising altitude. We are safe and good to go. Now the little nav map comes in very handy as a secondary tool to FSX, as we do not get all the information handy in Flight Simulator X. As you can see, there's all information I need about my aircraft, the Cessna Grand Caravan, the airline, SOAR, and much more. Also the progress of my aircraft. As to the distance and time, the distance to destination is 452 nautical miles. Destination is not VRMM but VRMG, that's Gan International Airport. So giving you a basic overview about today's flight, we already departed from VMRH, and then we'll be doing touch and goes on VRMM, VRMK, VRMT, and then finally we'll do a full stop landing on VRMG, and that's where our flight ends. Now, to explain what a touch and go is, it's basically that, as the name suggests, we'll be flying in. As my flight plan says here, the pink line is the active leg. Our aircraft is presently on that leg. So we'll be following this track, turning northbound after we cross Delta 180 Lima, and we'll be straight in line with runway 36, and that's when we'll come in final. We'll descend down to runway 36, touch down on runway 36, and then slow down a bit and then give full throttle, retract our flaps to take off angle, set our trim to take off, and take back off from the airport. We will not be stopping at the airport and will not be parking or refueling. We won't be refueling because we already took off with 100% of fuel, as we do not have any passengers with us, and we do need sufficient amount of fuel for this flight. We'll be taking off again and carrying back on our flight plan and heading to the next airport. We'll be doing the same procedure again and again, which is known to be a great practice for VFR or pilots who have a private pilot license. And then finally we'll come in to VRMK, and we might do a circuit here. I'm just showing you these circuits. These are not active on our flight plan, but I'm just showing you these circuits so that you have a basic overview. Now, to give you some more information about how to enter and exit a VFR circuit, if I'm coming now, you see this radials, these 360-degree radials. This is basically a VOR on the airport, VRMK. Now that's used if I would be doing a VOR to VOR flight. Do let me know in the comment section if you want to see how do you tune your radios to VOR and fly with the instruments. So if I am coming down to this airport via VOR, I'll be knowing beforehand that a left hand circuit is followed for runway 30, and I'll be coming in at a 45-degree angle. Now usually the pattern altitude for these airports is 1000 feet, so I'll be descending to 1000 from my cruising altitude to 1000 feet and approaching it at a 45-degree angle, so that I have a good eye view of the incoming aircrafts and the aircrafts already in pattern. Also, I'll keep constant communication with all the other VFR aircrafts, if any. Then I'll enter the traffic pattern, turn base, and turn final, and finally land on the runway. Similarly, if I had to exit the pattern, I'll take off and fly the straight runway heading, or fly a bit north westbound and exit the traffic pattern safely. So that was some brief information about traffic patterns. Okay, coming back to our flight sim, everything looks normal. We have a beautiful landscape, and that's Omkar right on our tail. Now, in order to get some more information about your fuel levels and the FPS, if you do not have it configured already, is you just press Shift Z, that's Shift Zulu, and you get your frames per second, your altitude, and also the wind. The current wind is 17 knots at 289. As you can see, my little nav map has pulled in that information and has displayed it here already for me. So I basically use this software for every other thing, and I use my flight simulator to manage my aircraft. Okay, so you have your winds here. If you press Shift Z again, you'll have your fuel percentage. So I was before at 93%. As you can see, it's come down to 85%. You go get both of those together, and it's gone. Traffic, this is Alpha 136, now descending to flight level 030. There, I just adjusted the flight level to 030, and my autopilot has automatically tilted the aircraft down. And I need to compensate the speed with my throttle. As you can see, it's exceeding my cruising speed. Now if you notice, my landing lights are on and will stay on through this flight, because if you guys know, I'm below 10,000 feet and you only turn off your landing lights once you cross 10,000 feet. And you can see Omkar, and he's quite visible. That's only because of his landing lights, and you need to stay visible when you're flying a VFR flight, because it's all about the visual flight rules. We need to keep visual distance from other aircrafts. Okay, correction, my vertical speed is already at minus 1000, so it's fine.
Roger that.
So we have a good rate of descent here. We are already at 4000, descending to 3800, finally to 3000. You can see the land coming quite close now. Now this is the basic default FSX scenery, so you won't find many scenic views over here, but if you need some scenic views, go ahead and download Orbix. Orbix is a really good software, and you'll get some really nice scenic views after you add on some scenery from Orbix. Okay, so as we are approaching close to the airport, we'll just go through our flight plan once again. We'll continue on our autopilot till Delta 180 Lima. We'll turn off our autopilot, and by we reach Delta 180 Lima, we'll be down to 1000. That will be our pattern altitude, and we'll establish our localizer for runway 36. Once we establish the localizer, we'll be descending from 1000 to runway height, and finally touching down runway 36, taking back off northbound runway 36 and resuming our flight plan via Delta 335 Lima. See you on the final. Okay guys, so we are almost approaching the airport. You can see the island there. If I try to zoom in, there are a few buildings, and that's the airport. We are about to approach downwind runway 36. That will be a left downwind runway 36, and we'll be starting our descent soon. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 descending to flight level 010. And there I give the instruction to my... So if you do that manually, you will basically just take your radio panel and scroll your flight level over here. I'm using a tablet. This is a really great app that I have called FS Free Radio Panel. That is also free, but you can also take the paid version, which is really nice, really nice.
November 20 descending down to 1000.
November 20, roger that. Okay, so carrying on. So this is a really nice app. You guys can use it. It's quite handy and helps you be quite flexible with your autopilot. And there's not just autopilot, you also get a map, the attitude indicator, the primary flight display, and much more. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 reducing speed to 140.
Roger that, Alpha 136.
And once we reduce it to 140, we'll also be setting our flaps down to a notch once we reach safe speed. Flaps down one notch. Reducing to speed 120. Down to 010. Okay guys, so as you can see in the Garmin, we are almost approaching the 45-degree angle, and that's where our flight plan is taking us. Soon we'll be turning left and coming down this glide slope, or the localizer. Let's give it a quick check on the little nav maps. Okay, it seems fine.
Number 20 down to 0.
Maintaining a speed of 120. Flaps down 2 notch. Reducing speed to 100. Holding flight level 010.
I guess I'm gonna start.
Sorry?
You start turning because अपना plane बहुत छोटा है.
Disengaging autopilot.
Cool, you turn first.
Turning base runway 36. Okay, now I have manual control of the plane. Setting trim. Starting our descent slowly. There you go. Giving a bit of a rudder, left rudder.
Turning left towards the glide slope.
Nice and smooth. Luckily the winds are calm now. We do not have that 70 knot wind presently. And here we have established a base. Runway 36. Now we'll head straight until we establish the localizer and then turn left 90 degrees for final runway 36. Speed is increasing a bit, setting full flaps, adjusting trim accordingly. Now if you guys don't know what trim is, it's basically it helps your aircraft maintain a certain pitch angle, which is quite helpful as you do not have to keep adjusting your elevators again and again. It's more like a helping hand. Okay, the speed seems to be dropping a bit, maintaining 100 knots. So the best way to fly a VFR flight is to keep an eye on your cockpit glass line and the horizon. If it's level, you will fly straight, and you can also judge your pitch accordingly. You do not have to keep an eye on the instruments again and again. In a VFR flight, you need to look outside more than you look inside the aircraft. Turning left gradually in order to establish final runway 36. There you can see the island and also the runway light. That's the glide slope light right there. We are descending a bit. We need to hold this altitude. We'll be pitching up, giving some more throttle to maintain our airspeed. Now a small tip here. Mostly people when they roger that. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 on final runway 36.
Clear to land.
Okay, so yeah, I was giving you a small tip. So usually when or let it be, we'll continue with the tip after we take off and are back to our next airport. Oh, we have some turbulence here.
Traffic, this is November 20 following you on the final.
November 20, roger that. Be advised, there's a bit turbulence on final.
Turbulence on the final.
Now the way you align with the runway is keeping nothing, that wasn't for you. Now the way you keep aligned with the runway is by keeping the runway right in between your legs. Okay, there's some more turbulence. Or in this case, you can keep the runway aligned with the attitude indicator of your aircraft. Everything seems fine. We're maintaining a good speed of 100 knots. A bit more than 100, but that's fine. Now, in order to understand the glide slope lights, there are 4 lights. If they're all red, that means you're dead, because you'll be quite low and might crash into something. If it's all white, that means you're too high. So what you're looking for here is 2 white and 2 reds. We are a bit to the right of the runway, giving a bit of a left rudder and left aileron. There we go. Maintaining a positive descent rate. Trying to get it right where my attitude indicator is. The lights show that I'm quite high. That's fine, because this is a VFR flight and I have the runway in sight. Okay, reducing speed to 80 knots. Reducing speed to 80 knots. As soon as we touch down, we'll slow down, thrust to idle. A bit to the right, but it's fine. And that's a smooth touchdown. We'll roll a bit, retract flaps 1 notch. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 taking off runway 36. Trim set for takeoff. Giving a bit of a left rudder as our plane is somehow pulling us to the right. V1, rotate. V2.
Traffic, this is November 20. Runway, whatever runway is.
It's runway 36.
36. Are we following the GPS?
I'm presently flying manual.
Roger that.
Turning left to a heading of 350.
Roger.
Okay guys, so that was a good touch and go. I'll get back to you once we resume on our flight plan. Okay guys, so after our touch and go,
Flight level bata.
060, back to the cruising altitude.
Roger. Switching off nav, switching on.
So Omkar is right down there, following the same altitude. While we are climbing at our cruising altitude, as you can see on our little nav map, we descended to land on our VRMM Mail International, and then we did a touch and go on runway 36, as you can see the black trails. Then we turned left and resumed own navigation on our flight plan to the next airport, that is Victor Romeo Mike Kilo. And there you can see our plane turning on its own as our Garmin has asked. There you can see the active leg, and we are headed to Mike 022. There you can see our airport we just took off from. And yes, that's how it is pretty much done. stay tuned if you want to see a second touch and go. So guys, if you like this video, please do like, share, and you can subscribe, as I'll try to get in more such videos on my channel. You can also ask several questions, some basic stuff you want to know. Also, we have the new FSX 2020 coming in, so we are all eagerly waiting for the same. Aiming for 165 knots. This is a longer leg, so it will take some more time. And this is our next airport. Now the procedure for this airport will be, we'll be flying in, and as I said earlier, we'll be now coming in on runway 21. For that, we'll be approaching at a 45-degree angle, as you can see here. Then we'll be entering the left traffic pattern for runway 21, and we'll be heading downwind, turning base, and on our flight plan for the next airport. Stay tuned. As you can see, the weather is fairly clear. There are some minor clouds at 6,000 and the rest are at above 8,000 feet, so we'll be mostly flying below them. Also, a great tip about VFR flight, which is really important for you to know, is that during a VFR flight you'll never fly into the clouds, because maintaining a visual distance from other aircrafts is very important in a VFR flight procedure, which is pretty much impossible if you enter a cloud, and sometimes a cloud can turn out to be really big and you might also get lost if you're not doing an instrumental or a VFR or a VOR flight. I have also set a private server on Flight Simulator Steam Edition, which many people do not know how to. So if you want a video on that too, let me know in the comments section. Thanks. Now, as we are cruising and everything seems fine, I can give you a quick go through the main 6-pack instruments in our airplane. So we have the speedometer. Everyone knows what a speedometer is, so I'll just leave it alone. We have the, let me show you in the 2D panel right there. We have the attitude indicator, where you can see the bank angles. That's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. You never turn a bank of more than 30 degrees, because then the lift your wings generate is very minimal and you may lose altitude. Secondly, here we have our altimeter. As you can see, the smaller arm is for the thousands, the larger arm is for the hundreds, and this one right here is for the 10,000s, which is not used as much as smaller aircrafts usually fly below 10,000 feet. So we are presently at 6,000. This is our vertical speed indicator. As we are on our flight level, we are neither ascending nor descending. This is our horizontal situation indicator. This is basically used for VOR navigation. Also the VOR2 indicator. This is our radio magnetic indicator, and this is the inclinator. This is basically when shows the incline of your aircraft. So when you're using your rudder, you need to keep this ball in middle of this square. So guys, let me know if you want any further videos. I can also make videos in Hindi for my Indian friends, and I can explain things like ILS approaches, reading VFR charts, basic instruments, taxing tips, how to taxi without progressive taxiing. All that in Hindi and in English also. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so as you can see, we are now halfway to Victor Romeo Mike Kilo. Let's go ahead and plan our approach. So once we reach waypoint Delta Oscar Delta Romeo Uniform, we'll start our descent from our cruising altitude down to 1000 feet at 1000 feet per minute descent rate. And now the question is, how will we enter the left traffic pattern for runway 21? So what we'll do is we'll come in straight perpendicular to the runway. We'll cross the runway, enter the left downwind runway 21 at a 45-degree angle, which don't go on the flight plan, because as we switch we'll gradually turn and our aircraft will make a 45-degree angle on its own, and we will intercept carrying on. It will intercept on waypoint 9, and after that we'll switch off our autopilot, take manual control and take a coordinated turn towards our final to runway 21. You can see there's no localizer here because there's no ILS approach supported at this airport. Also, if you notice, the previous airport was larger than this airport. It had the maximum runway length of 10,000 feet, but this airport has the maximum runway length of just 4,000 feet. So this is going to be a simple landing for the Caravan. That's why we selected this aircraft. It's a bit slow, but it helps us to take such good maneuverability at such traffic patterns and small approaches, even with high winds like 17 knots and above. So stay tuned. I'll get back to you once we are somewhere around close to being perpendicular to the runway. Also, to add, this turned out to be a bit longer than I expected for my friend here, so we decided to keep this airport, that's Victor Romeo Mike Kilo, as our final destination airport. So all we have to do is follow the flight plan as it is, but not keeping this airport as our touch and go airport. We'll touch down, take a full stop, exit to the right and choose a parking ramp and turn off our engines, and that would most probably be the end of this video. So stay tuned to watch my landing, and if you want me to continue this flight in a second video, let me know in the comments section. I'll make another one continuing this flight to our destination. That's Victor Romeo Mike Golf. Stay tuned. So guys, you must have noticed that when you for the current FSX players, when you join in a multiplayer session, the ping is quite high at times, especially for all the Indian and Asian players out there. So I have a way where you can create your own private session. Obviously you need to tweak your router and your PC settings a bit for that. So if you want to know more about that, let me know in the comment section. I will then make a separate video on how to host a private session, with which you get the advantage of a very low ping, which avoids your multiplayer aircraft to bounce around and give that jerky look, and will allow you to spectate your friends much better. So yep, let me know in the comment section and I'll go ahead and make a separate video on that. Omkar, do you read?
Yes, I do, Roger.
So we are on our perpendicular leg towards the airport now.
Yep.
Let me know when you're ready to descend.
Roger. That.
Okay guys, so as you can see, we are now on our perpendicular leg to the runway 21, Airport Victor Romeo Mike Kilo. We'll be shortly initiating our descent to flight level 010. That's 1000 feet. That is our pattern altitude. We'll start our descent somewhere around here, and as soon as we reach the airport we should be somewhere around 1000. We'll be switching to manual after we reach waypoint 9 and then turning final, and we'll make a full stop landing at the airport on runway 21. Stay tuned. Traffic, this is Alpha 136, now descending to flight level 010.
Roger that, Alpha 136.
Traffic, this is Alpha 136, reducing speed to 140.
Roger that, Alpha 136.
Now usually the traffic won't be acknowledging your callouts like this, but just because he's my friend and it's just the two of us flying,
Traffic, this is
how we communicate. November 20, roger that. November 20, be advised, maintain speed 140.
November 20.
Now the reason why we keep communicating each other our speeds is that we need to maintain some separation from each other. As you can see, there he is, descending behind me, and that's the airport right there.
Alpha 136, correct me if I'm wrong. Alpha 120.
Alpha 20, go ahead.
Is it 120 or 140?
It's 120.
Roger that, correction made, 120. 120.
Traffic, this is Alpha 136, reducing speed to 120.
Roger that, Alpha 136.
Okay guys, you can see that's the airport right in front of us. We'll be flying straight, turning left, coming around and landing at runway 21, as you can see right here. Let me check if you guys are still with me. Yes, you are. Maintaining a speed of 118. That's approximately 120. Hitting flaps 2. Raising our power. Now, one tip about VFR flying and flying in general is that usually people who are new to flying, they think if I pitch the airplane up, the altitude will increase, and if I turn the power all the way up, the speed will increase, but that's not the case. The principle that we need to remember here is that power for altitude, pitch for airspeed. That means the more power you give the plane, the more it will climb, and the way you adjust your pitch will give you the airspeed. So once we are on final, we'll maintain our power for a gradual descent rate, and we'll adjust our pitch to maintain our minimum airspeed in order to make a smooth approach. Now the airport is right below us. You can see the runway. It's quite short and it's a very remote airport. That's why we chose the Grand Caravan. ओमकार, अब देख रनवे कितना छोटा है.
हाँ यार,
इसलिए कह रहा था कैरावान सही रहेगा. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 now at flight level 020, speed 115, turning left towards waypoint 090.
Roger that, Alpha 136.
Okay, this is the point where we give full flaps. We are all set to land. All we need to do is disengage our autopilot once we reach waypoint 90 and come down short runway 21. We'll be coming all the way back with these islands to our runway. And you can see Omkar coming right behind me. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 now downwind runway 21. Turning base shortly.
Roger that. Turning downwind for the runway.
Tower, this is Alpha 136. Correction traffic, this is Alpha 136 maintaining a speed of 100 knots.
Maintaining speed of 100 knots.
Traffic, this is Alpha 136 now at flight level 010. Maintaining level and maintaining speed at 100 knots.
Maintaining flight level 01.
He has some problem with his communication. Could be his Discord. Never mind. Traffic, this is Alpha 136. I will now disengage autopilot and turning left base runway 21.
Roger that.
That was our autopilot, and here we turn left, maintaining our height and pitch.
November 20. We are leveling out on 1000. Turning left for the.
Now we need to adjust power to maintain that altitude, and we need to keep the pitch with the horizon, as you can see, to maintain the bank angle and the airspeed. Leveling our plane. Traffic, this is Alpha 136 now turning final runway 21. Runway inside. And here we go with a very short base.
Continue approach.
And now we can set our trim, reduce our power, and maintain pitch to lose altitude. There you see the islands. And you see on our vertical speed indicator November 120, roger that.
Correction, that's November 20. We have the runway in sight.
Traffic, this is Alpha 136 runway in sight, going in for a full stop landing. We'll report when clear of runway. Okay, we have dropped our airspeed a lot here. We are at 90 knots. We need to increase power. Let go of the stick so that the plane gains some airspeed. There we have the runway. Seems quite short. Using a bit of a rudder. As the wind's coming from our right, we'll keep our plane a bit to the right of the runway and adjust our rudder accordingly. You see we're aligned now. Reducing power to descend faster and adjusting pitch to maintain our airspeed.
Alpha 136, please vacate as soon as possible.
Alpha 136, roger that. thrust idle. We are a bit too far to the right. Giving right rudder for a gradual roll. And we have a smooth landing.
Damn, there's way on the final.
Traffic, this is Alpha 136 vacating runway to the right. Now we'll vacate the runway as soon as we can. And watch Omkar land with us. Here he just touched down. Nice landing, man. Follow me to the parking. Okay guys, so that was our flight for today. We can choose any ramp as per our choice. Thanks for watching. Do like, share and subscribe. Do comment below if you want me to make any further videos, if you have any other ideas. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.